Okay, peek up as that Sachsenring, and I don't feel like driving that track right now, so I need to look for something different to drive. Oh, the production car challenge. I've heard that's pretty good. Oh, the Miata at Sebring. Last time I drove the Miata was when...
Lafficiano. He doesn't quite look to be as quick as he was when he was in third. It's almost like, and I'm reluctant to say this because look how close they are, but it's a bit of a cork in the bottle as things stand. I think William Rasmussen, he's trying the whole bump drafting. Oh dear, that's not bump drafting, that's a little bit unconventional to say the least. Good driving though from Joey to get the car very quickly back on track, and that's going to allow Cam Ebden to find a way past. Joey has to slow down because of the slowdown penalty, and that is a big penalisation for arguably something that wasn't really his doing.
Yeah, you know what? This seems like a great idea. This is the car, this is the track, and if you see this man, report him to the FBI immediately.
I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit. I'm horny as fuck, man. I'm a freak, man. Like, for real.
Alright, so we're starting in P2 in class, and that's Daniel ahead of us starting in P1, car number 2, with Matt starting in P5, Matt Malone. If you don't know who he is, he's an iRacing YouTuber, or an iRacing Twitch streamer, actually. Keep an eye out for him, massive player. And then we have Will Rasmussen, starting in P9. He's going to be another big player in this race, so keep an eye out for him as well. Rolling start on the back straight, because this is multi-class, and the classes ahead of us already started on the grid. P1 gets a really good launch compared to us in P2 and P3. Cameron ahead of us. We have to defend our position against this guy to hold P2. Going into Sunset, we have the inside, so it should be pretty easy. We just have to look out for a switchback or him going around the outside, which is really easy to do going into Sunset. But we hold him off. We managed to hold him off. Going on to the pit straight, starting lap number 1. Matt Malone is right behind Cameron behind us, so we need to keep an eye out for him because this car is literally his specialty. He drives this car all the time. There was actually a series literally made for him on iRacing, named after him. Hopping on board with Will, he's diving down the inside of Jose ahead of him, going into P7 already this early on in the race. Will is not going to be waiting behind anybody on the first couple laps. He wants to get to the front of the pack. That's just how he is, and we need to keep an eye out for that. Going into turn number 5, I think this is, we had a pretty narrow entry, which makes our exit pretty bad, but we just use the tactical off track to keep our speed up with P1, which gives us a pretty good run on him, and we have the slipstream going into the hairpin, so we have a pretty good run, but it wouldn't be smart to make moves this early on in the race, because that would just check everybody behind us up and allow them to have a battle for first place, which I don't want them to do, because second place is a very, very valuable position, and I'll explain why in a little bit, because Will is diving down the inside of the hairpin. Another position for him going up into P5 behind Matt. He's already behind Matt Malone, literally on the first lap. But I want to explain why second place is more valuable than first place in Miatas, because, I mean, this car is literally pure strategy and pure racecraft. Your pace can be completely off by like a second, and you can make as many mistakes as you want, but as long as you are in the lead pack and as long as you are in slipstream, it does not matter. You literally will stick with them no matter what. So placing your car and being in the right position at the right time is way more important than just pure pace or anything else like that. So being in second place is very important because first place has no slipstream, and as long as you're not being threatened from behind, you can literally just sit passively behind first place and wait for the end of the race, wait for the final lap, final corner, and just make a move, and they literally can't do anything about it, especially on this track, because the run to the last corner, Sunset, is literally like, it's a very long straight, especially for this car, and with that amount of slipstream, they are literally just a sitting duck, and they can't do anything about the move that comes towards them during Sunset. But going on to the back straight now, Cameron gets a really bad run going on the back straight. You can see on the relative that Matt is either going to push him or go side by side with him. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to make a move on first place, because if they're side by side, which they are now, we're not going to lose as much time to them because we're both going to be losing the same amount of time because we're both battling. But going into Sunset, Matt is going to get the move done really early on, and I'm going to get the move done really early on too, but I'm going to go wide, and Will is going to follow Matt through, getting into 4th place, and up ahead, Daniel gets the switchback done on me. Going on to lap number 2, we're side by side for turn 1, but his nose is a little ahead of mine, but that should be perfectly okay because I still have the advantage up the inside. So hopping on board with Matt now, going into turn number 1, I'm going to get the advantage, pull ahead really early, and Will is going to just dive bomb Matt going into turn number 1. Matt just doesn't even fight it, 6th into 4th place, and Daniel gets another switchback done on me. Going into turn number 2 now, he has the inside, he has the advantage, but I don't want to lose first place, so I'm going to fight him all the way through this first sector. Going into turn number 5, I thought he was still on my inside, so I give him plenty of room, and I just completely fall back because of that mistake. And I mean, Will is going to follow him through, Matt is going to follow Will through, and I'm just a sitting duck, sitting on the inside, going into the hairpin. But I have the slipstream from Daniel, so we're going to go 2 by 2 going into the hairpin. It's all really starting to kick off. Matt breaks a little early. I have the inside of Matt. Will tries to go around the outside, but doesn't make it stick, so I'm side by side with Will. He doesn't see me there, pushes me off, which is perfectly fine in these cars. You can make plenty of contact. There's barely any net code, and there's really no consequences. You could really push these cars around. They're basically tanks. But going into turn number 10, we have the inside of Matt Malone, so we should be able to get this position fairly easily, and yeah, he just backs out. We get third place, he just tucks behind us, and we have a little bit of a gap to Will and Daniel ahead, but it's obviously not a worry. So all we need to do now is just chill out and run our laps, because this middle sector of Sebring it's not great for overtaking in the Miata, because you might as well just wait for the long back straight or the pit straight to overtake into Sunset or turn 1, because those overtaking opportunities they're too good to pass up compared to anything else. You wouldn't lose as much time, and it's just so easy to overtake there just because of the slipstream. So overtaking here isn't a worry. So literally all we need to do is run our laps, focus on our line, and just not make any mistakes so we can stay behind Will and not let Matt become a threat behind us. But going onto the straight, we get a pretty good run, but so does everybody else in front of us. Matt is no threat behind us going into Sunset. So he's 4/10 behind us. So he shouldn't be a threat going into Sunset. But we're gaining a little bit of time on Will with the slipstream, so we could be a threat to second and first place. But going into the braking zone, braking at the 2 cone, and Will brakes at the 1 cone, braking a little bit too late, swinging him wide, and he tries to get on power to make up the speed that he lost, but it just drifts him out wide, and we take the inside. Matt is going to follow us through, getting way more speed than Will. Going on to lap number 3, Will has the inside for turn 1, but me and Matt have way more speed than he does, and I mean, we're basically a full car length ahead of him. Matt is still on the outside, so he might not be able to make this work, but we should be able to make it work pretty easily. And we do, tucking ahead of Will. Matt just backs out, playing it safe. And I mean, that's why I love these cars. These cars are just, you're always switching positions. The order is always being flip-flopped every single lap. So it's always just random what's going to happen in a race. You never really know. But going into turn number 5, I do not open it up enough, like at all. I literally go completely narrow, just sacrificing my run on the exit, and the leader is just pulling away. So Will behind decides to start pushing me, make up that gap, and just stick with him, make sure we don't fall back. It's always a choice of if you want to overtake or if you want to push, because I mean, there's always drawbacks, there's always pros and cons to either decision. If you push, you'll gain time. Both of you will gain time with the slipstream, and I mean, if you overtake, you'll lose time, but you'll gain a position. So there's always pros and cons to weigh out, and I mean, depending on the situation, like before, going into the hairpin, if he were to overtake me, that would just start a brawl going into the next couple corners with the people behind us. So I mean, the decision he made was probably the right decision, and we're right back on the leader, so it definitely worked. And like I said on the last lap, all we need to do is run our laps, stay behind the leader, and wait until the back straight to overtake him, because the leader doesn't have slipstream. But we also need to keep an eye out for Will behind us, because he is a 10th behind us, which could become a threat going into Sunset. You never know what he wants to do. It all depends on if he thinks we have enough pace, or if he wants second place, if he wants this position. You really never know if someone's going to make a move on you, so defending is never really a good option in the Miata. But going into Le Mans, going onto the last corner before the back straight, we get a way better run than the leader. And Will is right behind us, so he's able to push us. So we tuck to the inside going into Sunset, and Will's going to push us. He's going to follow through, but Matt behind is 1/10 behind Will, and he decides he feels bad for the previous leader, so he's going to start pushing him. We're 2 by 2 going into Sunset once again. But me and Will have the inside, so this should just be in the bag. Matt backs out, and me and Will both pull through into first and second place. Daniel tucks behind, going to third. I'm a little wide, so Will takes the inside, going out of Sunset, going on to lap number 4 now. Me and Will are going to go 2 by 2 going into turn 1, and then behind, Matt is going to follow Will, passing Daniel on the outside of turn 1. And then he's going to decide to push Will before the corner, and backs out again, going back down into 4th place, Daniel into 3rd. Me and Will are going to stay side by side all the way through turn 1. I have the inside for turn 2. He has the outside for turn 2. Daniel looks up the inside of me, looking to make it go 3 wide, but he backs out, does the smart thing, and I have my nose ahead of Will. I have the advantage going into turn number 5, and I make it stick. Going back into 1st place, Will into 2nd, Daniel into 3rd, and Matt into 4th. And now Will is still up my ass, but we have a little bit of a gap behind, so it might be smart for him to just push me, which he does going into the hairpin. It wouldn't be smart to make a move here because with Daniel having a gap behind us, if he were to overtake me or if he were to go for an overtake, it would slow us down and slow us down into him. I go completely wide in the hairpin and Will just follows me through, so that could have been bad, but Will following me through just completely saved me a position. But if you look ahead of us, there's a GR, and this could become a problem because this guy completely lost his pack, and he clearly isn't up to pace with us. So we're gonna have to do something about this, because if he slows us down, that could just cause a bunch of problems for us. He goes wide going to turn number 10, and I mean, he's already becoming a problem. So if he doesn't let us by here, we're gonna have to go for an overtake. So we're gonna look up the inside, but he's just gonna let us by, and this could be pretty good because if we overtake him and nobody else does, that'll break the pack apart. Will overtakes him too, following me through, and just starts completely drifting on the exit of tower, and that's going to sacrifice his exit. So Daniel is going to go up the inside of this double left-hander, but that is the outside for the corner after going into that complex before Le Mans. So Will should have the advantage here, but his nose is a little behind his, but he's going to make it stick going down the inside through this complex, going towards Le Mans, and I mean, they're going to lose a bunch of time to me going onto this back straight. Daniel swings it all the way around the outside of Le Mans, and he's just going to tuck ahead of Will into 2nd place, and Matt Malone behind Will is going to start pushing him to make up that time that Will lost to Daniel after he made that overtake. And if we hop on board with us, looking behind, looking at Daniel, we have a little bit of a gap going into Sunset, so we should be safe going on to this next lap. So fingers crossed, nobody goes too wide through Sunset. We just stay in 1st place going on to this next lap, and it looks like for the first time this race, everybody went single file through Sunset. So going on to lap number 5 now, we have the lead going into turn 1, and Daniel is right behind us. So we need to keep in mind that, I mean, anything can happen. He's going to go side by side with us. Will's going to go side by side with him. We're going 3 wide into turn 1, and Will just dives down the inside with a lot of speed, and he goes really, really wide. We both get the switchback on him. Daniel gets the switchback. I get the switchback on Daniel. 3 wide again going into turn number 2. I have the inside, and Will just forgets that we're 3 wide, sandwiches Daniel in between me and him, and that's the end of that battle. That was insane. Let's look back at my view of this. Will just dives down the inside. I get the switchback on Daniel. Daniel gets the switchback on Will. 3 wide again heading into turn number 2. Will is just completely off track. We have the inside. We have the advantage. And I don't know if 3 wide would ever work around that corner. But, I mean, Will just didn't even know we were 3 wide. Bumps into Daniel and puts himself off into the grass. I think he stayed out of the wall, though. So, I mean, he's still in this race. But looking behind us, we have Matt behind us. We're in 1st. Matt is in 2nd. Everybody we were just fighting is basically out of contention for 1st place. So all we need to do is just focus on defending our position. And if you look ahead, there's another GR. And we are almost definitely going to catch them at some point in this race. So we need to keep in mind that once we catch them, we need to do our best to just get by them and try not to lose any time. Because if we lose any time or they hold us up, that could just start to cause drama behind. And looking behind us, Matt Malone is on our ass going into turn number 10. And, I mean, he could make a move here, but, I mean, looking back at this race and just seeing what kind of driver he is, he's a very passive driver, and he likes to take things as they come to him. So, I mean, which honestly is a very smart mentality to have in this car, because things always happen in this car. This car is a very dramatic car. So, I mean, every race is full of drama, and he will just take it as it comes. And all we need to do to defend that is just make sure that no drama happens up front, because as long as we keep it clean, he should just keep staying passive and not really go for any crazy moves on us, and it should be pretty easy to defend him. So going into the last couple corners before the back straight, it looks like we're definitely going to have slipstream from this GR. So as long as we can get a really good exit going into the back straight, we should be able to overtake him going into Sunset. So hopping on board with Matt, we're going to look at our run onto the straight, and we just completely go wide, taking the tactical off track once again, but it gives us a really good run on the GR. We're deep in his slipstream. We take the inside, and I mean, the straight line speed of these cars I think is faster than the GR in the first place, so it should be pretty easy for Matt to overtake him going into Sunset 2. He goes down the inside, going into the braking zone. The GR just outbrakes us completely, outbrakes me, takes the inside. That was a kind of a crazy move. That was like That was like no hezzy type shit. But going on to lap number 6 now, I mean, clearly this GR does not, he wants to put up a fight. He clearly doesn't want to let us by, which honestly, I mean, he doesn't need to let us by, but it's kind of the right thing to do because you're not fighting us for position. So he just wants to start causing drama. So we're in second place behind Matt because of all that, but we're going to dive down the inside of turn 1. We got the inside of Matt, and we're going to squeeze him to the GR. We're going to use him to our advantage, not allow Matt by, and we're going to have the inside of both Matt and the GR going into turn number 2. And on the exit, I just don't want to give the GR room. I was done with his bullshit, to be honest. Going into turn number 5, Matt has the inside of the GR, but it completely sacrifices his entry, so he gets a pretty bad run compared to me, but he has the slipstream, and it looks like the GR is pushing Matt. I can't really tell from this camera angle, but even with the slipstream of Matt, his top speed just is no match for the powerful 100 and like whatever horsepower Miata. So the guy behind him tries to go around the outside, but the brakes on the GR are just so much more powerful than the Miatas. So he takes the inside of Matt and just completely pushes him off in the hairpin. So Matt just completely got fucked over by the GR. We have a split field now. I am running away with first with there's a bunch of chaos going on behind the GR. This is exactly what I wanted to happen before. I mean, look at this. I don't even know what's going on. There's just so many Miatas swarming this GR, and this GR shouldn't even be here. There's just too much going on. Matt is side by side with the GR going into tower. He has a higher top speed, but again, the GR has more powerful brakes, so Matt needs to keep that in mind, and it doesn't matter. He gets by safely this time without getting bumped. And I mean, we're just running away at this point, and that's exactly what I wanted to happen because of that guy right there, the GR. And I knew that was going to happen at some point in this race. But going on to lap number 8, not a lot happened between then and now, but Matt caught up to us with the powerful slipstream of the Miata. You could be like 2 seconds back and catch up. But going into turn number 1, we're going to start getting GT4 traffic, and they dive the fuck out of Matt going into turn 1. He has to take evasive action not to get hit, and third place behind Matt has to check up not to hit Matt. So, I mean, that's going to lose him even more time. So he was closing a gap on us, and now it's completely opened up once again because of multi-class traffic. So we have a 1.6 second gap once again. So we're skipping ahead to lap number 9 now, and that's Matt, a second behind us going into turn number 1. And, I mean, honestly, I felt like my pace was, I'm pretty sure my pace was faster than Matt, and I think it was strong enough to pull a gap even if he was a second behind. But as you can see, there's GT4 traffic overtaking him, but I don't think it slowed him down that much. Maybe a couple tenths, not as much as the lap before. So, I mean, now that we have a little bit of a gap, we could try to run away with our pure pace. And, I mean, it's going to be hard because the slipstream in this car, like I said before, is like almost, you could be 2 seconds behind and the slipstream will pull you in. But honestly, I think my pace was strong enough to pull away from Matt even with that slipstream. So, going towards the hairpin, Matt is a second behind once again. He dropped those 2 tenths already with the slipstream. But if you look at the relative, we have another GT4 coming through, and this could mix things up once again because it looks like he's lined up almost perfectly to fuck me over going into turn number 10. So I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping and praying that they don't dive me going into the corner and they just hold back. But I mean, if we take a look behind, here they come. There goes one. This second one was the problem, flashing his lights, and he just dives down the inside. And, I mean, he completely checks me up going on the exit of turn 10, and Matt literally catches a second in one corner. So he's already going to be threatening first place going into tower after we had a second gap, and we have the inside, so we should have the advantage. And there's another GT4. Just, I mean, it's like every single time that Matt gets behind me and threatens first place, it's almost like I hired the GT4s to literally just fuck him over and not allow him first place. I mean, it's beautiful. I can't complain. Going on to lap number 10 now, the penultimate lap. We have Matt behind us. I think he's just under a second gap behind us, but he has another GT4 coming down the inside of turn 1, and this time I think he learned his lesson. He's going to slow down early just to tuck behind him, and I mean, he's gonna lose like barely any. He's actually probably gonna gain time because of the slipstream from that GT4 going through turn 1, and then the GT4 is behind us. I'm just hoping and praying that he doesn't dive us going into any of these corners leading up to turn number 5, and thank God he doesn't. We're not gonna lose any time to him. We still have a little bit of a gap behind us to Matt, but he is 100% in our slipstream, and it is a lot closer than it was before, so it's going to be hard to just race him based off of pure pace. He's less than a second behind, which means, I mean, the slipstream is, he will be right behind us going into probably turn number 10 at this rate, because these are 2 very long straights, and the slipstream is just way too powerful when you're within a second. So going into the hairpin, I kind of fuck up my run at the apex. He gains a 10th through that corner. I kind of turned in a little bit too early, took too much of that curb. And I mean, look at the relative, look how much he's gaining already. He was 7/10 behind, now he's 4/10 behind. And then I miss I don't even know what happened there. I just missed a shift, I guess. And I have paddle shifters. I don't know how to explain that. But going into turn number 10, he gains a lot of time mid corner. I don't know how he's really on his A game now. He's locked in. He wants this position. This is the second to last lap, so he doesn't want to give this one up. This is probably his best opportunity to try and threaten first place, because I mean, by the looks of it, there's no GT4s that could fuck him over this time, and he's right on my ass. So, I mean, I should have hired more GT4s to fuck him over, but I just didn't have enough money, I guess. But he's going to decide to bump me going to the double left-hander. This isn't a great overtaking opportunity. If he starts to fight here, it would just cause us to slow down into Cameron. And he definitely doesn't want to do that. He wants first place all to himself, so he's going to try his best to not slow us down while overtaking me at the same time, because we do have a second gap behind, and as long as he keeps pushing me, we should be able to maintain that gap just based off of the push. So going onto the back straight now, he's gonna have a massive run on me going into Sunset because of the slipstream. I have nothing in front of me to help me out here. So going into Sunset, and it looks like he's gonna start to bump me, but no, it's just the classic bump and run. He's gonna bump me wide and take the inside, but he has a really shallow line, which is gonna sacrifice his exit. So I'm gonna try to swing it around the outside, stay too wide, and I'll have the inside for turn 1. And this is getting really close because we are going onto the final lap of the race, and we are side by side going into turn number 1. We have a little bit of a gap behind us, so we have free range to start fighting, and I get the run on him going into turn 1. I mean, it was a given. I had the inside, but he could have a better run going into turn 2. But it doesn't look like he got that strong of a run. So we're back into first place. We still have a second gap behind us. So, I mean, this is looking pretty safe for Matt to be able to keep fighting us for P1. So we need to do our best to just run away from him. And it's going to be really hard without slipstream, but that GR ahead of us is looking really promising. If he could just get a little bit closer to us and give us that slipstream, that would be perfect. But I mean, he's basically almost 2 seconds ahead of me, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But Matt is peeking his nose down the inside. He's getting in our mirrors, but that's definitely not gonna do anything to us. We've done 10 weeks of time trialing for Prodigy, and we've been through a Prodigy finals race, and we crashed ourselves out. We have PTSD from this fucking car. Nothing is gonna break us. So I mean, he could pressure me all he wants, but nothing is going to get to me. But he has to make a move to get this position. He's doing it again, going into turn number 10, and I mean, I'm not gonna fall for it. Breaking at the 3 cone, breaking a little later than him, and still getting a pretty good exit compared to him. He has a little bit of oversteer on the exit, going really wide, going all the way to the curb, and I mean, you could see the speed we had on him. But if you look ahead, that GR is actually getting really close. So, I mean, going onto the back straight, he could help us out, which would be amazing. Going around tower, we both go wide. We're both taking the tactical off track. We're both doing everything in our power to carry as much speed through all of these corners. And all the while, this whole time, we're still gaining on Cameron. I mean, Matt hasn't been pushing me. I have almost no slipstream from that GR ahead, and we're still gaining on the guys behind us. They're losing us. They're losing the pack, and that just shows how much both of us are pushing for this lead. And going onto the back straight, I kind of fuck up my run, but Matt does too, and that GR's slipstream is just barely out of reach to really do anything because Matt is only 3/10 behind us, and we're basically a whole second behind that GR. So, I mean, it's looking pretty safe going into Sunset. But, I mean, there's no telling what is going to happen on the last corner of the last lap. So going into Sunset, Matt pokes his nose down the inside but doesn't get it under the brakes. I get off the brakes really early and I go wide. He's going to take the inside and we're going to go door to door to the checkered flag. We're literally side by side. I am like 1,000th ahead of him. The iRacing man is waving the checkered flag and we're literally almost dead even going to the line. This race has been fucking amazing. But crossing the checkered flag, we're gonna take home P1. What a race. I mean, really, what a race.
Good race, Matt. That was close.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Wish the BMWs didn't get in my way as much.
Yeah, I hired them to slow you down the whole race.
Well, I guess it worked.
Another crazy ass race with really good results. We got 48 I rating, which is pretty good for the strength of field. And then we gained 0.05 safety rating, but I mean, at least it's positive. And there's us in P1 with Matt Malone in P2 and Will in P3. He had an amazing comeback, so props to him. But I mean, if you enjoyed the video, you should subscribe.